Wow, I cannot believe that I have been celibate for 3.5 years. Like, if you know me or you knew me at all before motherhood, you would say that this was a totally impossible feat. Something I've always wanted to do, but just never quite sure if I could pull off. And I'm so grateful and honestly proud to be able to sit here today, almost 30, and being able to say that I have been celibate for 3.5 years. No relationships, no sex, no kissing even. So let's get into it because I'm really excited about the topic of today's video. I used celibacy mostly for relationship and inner child healing, so I'm gonna dive into that and what my process has looked like, why the energetics and the healing are so important to creating a new life and new relationships that you actually desire and being able to align with those. If you're new here, my name is Wynn and I share about my raw and real journey as a single mom traveling the world with her toddler through the lens of spirituality and mindfulness. When you conserve your sexual energy, which is also your life force energy, it has the power to make you radiant and magnetic. Conversely, if you misuse your sexual/life force energy, it can make you feel drained and powerless. Celibacy is an opportunity to actually get to know yourself without any distractions or filters, to truly experience you through the eyes of yourself, not through the eyes of others. When you see yourself clearly, you can actually take accountability for the experiences that you've been creating in your life. And if you've been tired of a certain cycle in your relationships or your friendships or an intimacy playing out, this is where you can come back to the drawing board, pause, get yourself recalibrated to what it is that you actually want before you try bringing in another partner who's not going to be good for you and just distract you from your healing. Also, because there's no sexual exchange, you're not creating unnecessary soul ties with people where you're picking up on their karma and absorbing their wounding. Next time you have sex with someone, I want you to notice if you start to change your food preferences, your music preferences, if you start to be insecure about certain things or have a different emotional outlook on certain issues. That is their stuff. You have allowed their life force energy into your body to become a blueprint for your own life force energy. My celibacy journey actually started with motherhood. Motherhood completely changed me and shattered my reality in both the best ways and the hardest ways. My emotional and nervous system capacity shifted so much, and I had so little bandwidth for anybody outside of myself and being a single mom to a toddler. Because of that, and without even trying, my standards just completely up-leveled, and I had to get more in alignment and more in integrity and more honest with myself than ever before. My last relationship really affected my view of men in a toxic way, and it broke my trust both in myself and others. I felt very guarded and very cynical, and honestly, like future men owed me. I noticed myself always belittling men and expecting them to be perfect, feeling like they had to prove themselves to me because I was so hurt and betrayed and just resentful. I just knew from this place that I couldn't attract a partner who would be right for me, and so I didn't even want to try. Like, I just do not have the time to pine over a man when I'm a single mom to a toddler. I also can't afford to put my child through anything that is my own brokenness and unhealed trauma. I saw this as an opportunity to just take a break, reinvest any energy that I had back into myself and my child to heal from everything that had happened in my life up until that point, and to just not make any more excuses and become the highest version of me and the divine mother that I knew I could be. If you are currently single or just went through a breakup, this might be the perfect opportunity for you, just saying, to have a total rebirth. Because when you're not getting that quick fix of attention, you have to really ask yourself, what am I really looking for? Sex is also so primal that facing the truth of our relationship to intimacy can be really confronting, especially when there's no one there to distract us from our wounding. But that discomfort is where all the awakening happens. It's in stripping everything away and being left with the cold, hard truth of the internal world that you have created up until this point. Do you like hanging out with yourself, or were you using other people to make you think that you were having a better time with yourself than you really were? And you start to realize Every relationship that you have is really about the relationship you have with yourself, not the other person. Everything comes from within you. Everything is a reflection of you. Imagine that every way that you feel about yourself, there is a door within you. A door called, I love myself. A door called, I'm insecure about my face. If you try to interact with someone who wants to deliver you a package that says, I hate your blue hair, but you don't have a door within you that says, I'm insecure about my blue hair because let's say your hair is not blue, they can't deliver that package to you. That comment is just gonna bounce off you like it means nothing. But if someone looks at you and says, you're ugly, and you have a door right here that says, I'm ugly, they were just able to hand deliver a package to the address that matched. When you engage with anyone, see them as a bonus confirmation of how much you already love yourself. If you don't like the way someone is treating you, the solution is not in changing them, it's in changing you. Because your inner and outer worlds have to match in order for a true and deep resonance to occur. If you desire deep love, divine partnership, transformative healing, you have to cultivate that within yourself first because you're the one experiencing it. No past relationship just created that love out of nowhere. You were not in love with that other person. That other person was just reminding you that you are capable of feeling. You don't need them for that experience, but you do need you in order to have that experience at all. I highly recommend Abraham Hicks and the Law of Attraction to dive more into these concepts in a relationship. I experienced this 180-degree change really powerfully in my life when I was ready to start full-time traveling 6 months ago. And unlike when I was newly postpartum and full of grief and unhealed trauma, I had finally landed in this integrated and whole place within myself. Like I felt so renewed and in love for the first time since becoming a single mom. And the change in my external reality has been immediate. People stop me all the time to tell me that I'm so beautiful and radiant. It'll happen when I'm walking on the street or I'm in a restaurant. It's almost like people feel so compelled, like they can't help themselves or they can't look away. And to me, it's very much an energetic thing, like they're drawn to my energy. People will always comment with that, oh, you have this like glow that's coming from within you, and I just had to tell you. And I woke up every day proud of myself, not wondering, is anyone gonna love me, or why am I so fucked up? Am I gonna end up alone? I was not motivated by male approval at all. When you take your power back from something as primal and powerful as sex, it's like a super boost. Even to take it a step further in evolutionary psychology, when it comes to the biological wiring of a man and a woman, when women give to men, they don't think, wow, she is so amazing. They think, wow, I'm so amazing. But when women give to themselves and prioritize themselves and see their own value, men will also see her value. It'll trigger pursuit and he will want to give to her because men bond emotionally through giving. So how often in society, right, have we been told that women need to give more, give more, give more in order to have any value or worth? Actually, the opposite is true according to our biological wiring and evolutionary psychology. So by decentering men from my self-concept, men wanted me more and wanted to give to me more without expecting anything in return. And because of this time off that I've taken from distractions, from intermingling my energy with anyone else, from being affected on this really primal and biological level by anybody else, never once have I thought that my standards now are too high. Because now I am matching my own standards. I'm not creating high standards to compensate for low self-worth and wanting to try and prove something or wanting the man's validation to prove to me that I'm actually a worthy, amazing person. Reflecting on my journey, it is actually more empowering to know that I want more and need more in order to feel deep attraction and trust and respect in a man. It doesn't make me feel scarcity. It doesn't make me feel like it's impossible because I have become more too. Okay, so I'm talking a lot about the concepts and the outcome of my healing journey, but what actually came up for me and what was my process around those things. So I'm gonna share about that. I had 4 main tools and practices that I used over the last 3.5 years to get the most out of my celibacy journey, as well as to effectively rewire my nervous system and my brain. And that was reparenting my inner child, parts work, pelvic floor therapy, and womb meditations. All of these practices really fluidly blend together and support one another, but just for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna try to separate it out a little bit. That way, if people wanna apply these practices for themselves, they kind of know where to look and what to research. The first thing that you need to know is that time does not heal all wounds. You're gonna need to do some work in order to excavate some of the deeply stored survival patterns and subconscious beliefs that are holding you back. As a woman, all of my relationships were deeply tied to my relationship with my emotionally unavailable father. And having a son also resurfaced all of these masculine wounds that had originated from childhood. Postpartum, every interaction that I had with the outside world and my parents was seen through the lens of my unhealed inner child who had been suddenly reawakened by the birth of my own child. I really had to lean into these difficult emotions and revisit painful memories and almost re-feel them and re-experience them through the lens of my inner child, no matter how minuscule these instances seemed to the adult me. By feeling the emotions that she was never allowed to and listening to her and giving her what I didn't receive, I was almost able to reprogram that memory for a different outcome and over time repair my self-image and the low self-worth that have been affecting me throughout motherhood. Ultimately, your parents are your first intimate relationship and they teach you how to relate to others, and the way they talk to you also becomes the way that you talk to yourself. Unhealed attachment wounds will mirror one or both of your parents, and if you don't address that, then you will attract partnerships that reflect the dynamics that your parents were living out. This is why inner child healing and reparenting is so pivotal in shifting your adult relationships and rewiring your brain for safety and connection instead of survival and fear. Parts work is seeing every voice and emotion inside of you as a different part with its own name, intentions, and role in your life. In a parts work meditation, you talk to that part like it's separate from you in order to understand why it reacts the way it does. For example, if I get super angry every time my mother dismisses me, I will talk to the angry part version of myself. Some questions that I may ask it are, what are you really protecting me from feeling when you get really angry? And what do you think would happen if you weren't here? So what does the angry part inside of you think is going to happen if you don't show up to a situation with anger? Your parts then will tell you what they will need from you in order to feel like they can take a step back. So for example, your angry part needs you to set better boundaries with your mother so that it doesn't just all explode into an angry, heated argument every time that wasn't necessary. It's a lot to explain. Just check out my guided parts work meditation that I created. It's only 13 minutes long. Parts work revealed to me where my adult self's patterns had originated from. By connecting with these parts and getting curious about these parts, I was able to rebuild trust with myself, learn to advocate for myself, and rise into a woman who truly knows her worth and is not motivated by validation seeking. Dissociation is a survival response to trauma. It's a coping mechanism where we check out as a way to kind of separate ourselves and restore ourselves. If it's happening chronically, it can actually leave you feeling numb and disconnected and feeling unsafe in your body. And that's exactly what happened to me after my unplanned cesarean birth. My pregnant body, which was designed to protect my baby with my life, was suddenly being cut open with my baby being taken out of it. And even though my mind understood that I was safe, my body did not believe it. And if I could not feel safe to inhabit my own body after that experience, there's no way that I would have felt safe or trusting around other people, even people with good intentions. I would ultimately sabotage those experiences because I would be too paranoid and hypervigilant. Feeling disconnected from your body and not being able to resource safety within your own body will impact the kind of relationships you have, whether they're uplifting or draining, and who you ultimately attract into your life and what you even are turned on by. Like for a long time, I was not turned on by connection, and I had to rewire myself to be attracted to that instead of being attracted and turned on by validation. The most powerful practice that I did in my pelvic floor therapy was something called dearmoring, which is essentially when you use touch and specific exercises to remove and dissolve the emotional and energetic armor that you have built up in your body, specifically your womb and your hips. There are actually different memories and emotions that are stored in the different parts of the vagina and the uterus. And with the help of a pelvic floor therapist, you can actually map out your pelvic region so you know where you're holding more tension. And then you can use your finger or a massager to essentially touch and hold those parts within you and notice what emotions come up, feel those emotions, breathe, and eventually over time be able to relax those muscles and dissolve the protection that you have created from feeling that feeling or reliving that memory. Doing a form of somatic therapy that was literally targeting my sexual organs was so impactful in changing me on an embodied level. This form of therapy combined with celibacy allowed me to reconnect with my body on my highest self's terms without any external influences or temptations. In order to integrate the really exhausting emotional and somatic processing that I was doing with all of these different practices, I also incorporated womb meditation, which helped inspire so much peace and compassion towards myself. The one that I did most commonly was incorporating a Hawaiian prayer called Ho'oponopono, which is essentially where you say, "Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me." And I would place my hands on my womb, usually laying down, and I would just repeat these words softly and slowly over and over to myself until I really felt them. And I would have a different reaction every time, but it was always so cathartic, and I felt like I was always able to soften against my own judgments and my own criticism towards myself. I would also talk to my womb and ask her opinion on certain decisions and allow her wisdom to actually guide me. I did ask my womb for her thoughts around casual sex because I never realized how much I had a deeply rooted purity complex, and I felt like I should be above wanting to have casual sex with someone or being attracted to someone just because they're hot. Like, I thought that made me really unspiritual or unevolved. I thought that I should be ashamed for wanting purely physical experiences still, with all of the knowledge that I have about energetics and sex, and that it meant that I still had more work to do and that I just wasn't mature enough and I wasn't healed enough. And this is what my womb told me. Okay, so I'm gonna read it from my journal. I'm not gonna read all of it because it's 2 pages, but this is what she said. "I want safety and attention from you. I want you to give this to me, not for you to wait for the next person and your first person to need to give it to you in this really big and meaningful way. You are holding out for someone else to save you and to redeem you from your previously toxic sexual experiences, but you aren't giving that to yourself. You are literally waiting to be saved. I don't care about the guy. I don't care what you do. You can have fun, but only after you've done the work and created a foundation within yourself for that, not putting it in someone else's hands and making them responsible for your healing of the masculine. There is no shame in wanting what you want, no true right or wrong or spiritual or unspiritual. It's not about the first time with someone else that you should be putting pressure on. You are your own first time. You can have fun if that feels good from an actual place of inner knowing and inner connection, but you haven't gotten there. You are looking everywhere else, therefore all of it becomes an act of self-abandonment. Even though none of it would be, meaning like having casual sex wouldn't be an automatic act of self-abandonment or self-sabotage, just me being unhealed, if you just did it from a place of truly already having connected to yourself. So essentially what my womb was saying is, you're asking the wrong question about should I hook up with this guy or not. Basically, have you created a foundation within yourself where you are not looking to somebody else to give you a meaningful experience? You've created it within yourself. So this was back when I was starting to consider when I would break my celibacy and how that would happen. I was just noticing a lot of stuff come up around that. So that's what she said. She was pretty much like, it's really not about what you do or don't do with someone else, because again, they're a reflection of you. What have you cultivated within yourself to be able to meet that version in another person that you are wanting? There's really no other person involved, in the sense that people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves, and your sexual experiences are only going to go as emotionally and spiritually deep as you've met them within yourself. So, of course, everyone's womb is going to say something different based on your unique experiences and what medicine and healing you are needing in that specific time. But that was just an example that I wanted to share of something that she said to me because of the specific complexes and shame that I was holding. And it was so illuminating for me to realize another way in which I was outsourcing my power in the name of being good. It was really just more sexual shame. Feeling more sovereign and secure within myself than I have ever before, I also feel like my capacity for love is so much greater, and my capacity for appreciating people and circumstances exactly as they are. And it's actually allowed me to have even more meaningful connections. I'm able to cultivate intimacy with strangers, with people where our conversations might only last 30 minutes, or we might know each other for a couple days. I just feel like I'm so much more accepting of things coming and going and not taking things personally. So, committing myself to these tools and practices has really allowed me to conserve all of my energy to becoming my own dream woman and to feel whole and complete within myself so that all the experiences that I wanted to have would just naturally magnetize to me. I'm actually able to listen to my deeper truth and stand on the boundaries that I have created now because I've made myself unafraid of rejection or being alone or being abandoned so that I can make truly aligned choices and not unconscious choices that are based on trying to avoid the pain of those things. The greatest gift that celibacy gave me and the way that I used it was as an opportunity to meet myself without any distraction or coping mechanisms. That pretty much sums up everything I feel like I wanted to share at this moment in time. Thank you so much for being here. This is a very personal topic, but I know that sexual intimacy and attachment and relationships affect all of us. So I'm sending you so many blessings on your journey. I hope that this video helped you in some way. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below or feel free to send me a message, and I will see you guys next time.